Left-wing leader Xiomara Castro was officially sworn in as Honduras' first female president in history, in a moment where she faces a lot of heat given how divided is the Honduran Congress at this particular moment. In a pretty historic event in which United States Vice President Kamala Harris was president, Castro made a promise of changing the country after pointing out that she was receiving an economically broke nation. She claimed that the former government of Carlos Hernandez basically destroyed the Honduran economy and that she will face a pretty delicate and a pretty complicated government. Given this situation, she explained that this was going to be a pretty difficult task given how much the economy was broken on these last 12 years. She also explained that she was going to turn Honduras into a socialist nation, which of course is not exactly a surprise. This was highly expected given the fact that her radical ideas are well known by everybody, and given the fact that she's the wife of former Honduran left-wing president Manuel Zelaya. On another moment, she made a pretty controversial remark, a pretty controversial promise. She literally promised to make electricity free here in Honduras. Of course, many people believe that this is nothing more than nonsense, that this is a pretty crazy idea, given the fact that in order to make it happen, in order to materialize this promise, this idea, this will represent a pretty significant problem for a lot of Honduran people, because we're talking about this type of political decision, which main implication will be that taxes will be skyrocketing, that you have to raise taxes in order to pay for this promise of making electricity for free. I mean, this is a pretty eccentric promise, but we'll see if she could deliver. I mean, it is almost impossible unless she decides to raise taxes and to create a time bomb, essentially, a time bomb, because a lot of Hondurans will not feel exactly happy with this situation of having to pay more taxes. But we're going to see what is going to happen. And on the other hand, it remains unclear how much power her husband will truly have, given the fact that it has been commented that the real power behind the curtain will be Manuel Zelaya. So, I mean, this is quite complicated. This is a pretty complicated situation, because we're entering into this type of scenarios that anything could happen. Because it wouldn't be a surprise. It wouldn't be a surprise if Manuel Zelaya becomes the real power in Honduras, given the fact that one of the main reasons why she won these presidential elections was not only because of the disaster that Honduras has been facing with this last government, which was even involved in drug trafficking. This wasn't the only reason. The other reason was also that Manuel Zelaya still had a pretty significant popularity among many people in Honduras. So, given the fact that he wasn't able to become a presidential candidate, the face that represented Zelaya was his wife, Xiomara Castro. So voting for Xiomara Castro meant not only a punishing vote against the last government, but also a show of support to Manuel Zelaya. Another pretty significant moment of her public speech, her field speech as the Honduras president, this was related to foreign relations. She made a huge surprise after declaring her intentions of maintaining diplomatic relations with Taiwan. This was extremely surprising, because we need to remember the fact that China has a lot of influence on many governments here on Latin America. And given the fact that Xiomara Castro and her government will be left-wing, everyone thought that she was going to align with Beijing, such as the cases of Nicaragua, such as the cases of Argentina, of Bolivia, of Ecuador, of Venezuela, of Cuba, of many nations here in this region. But she made this huge surprise. We don't know if the United States somehow made a lot of pressure against Xiomara Castro, offering any type of favorable policy for her government. It remains unclear if this is something that happened, and it actually wouldn't be a surprise if this took place. But the truth is that this was a huge surprise that no one expected. No one expected that she decided in her public speech to make this statement that she wants to maintain diplomatic relations with Taiwan, because this will create a lot of tensions with China, given the fact that Beijing has executed a lot of pressure against many governments, not only in Latin America, but around the world, to stop recognizing Taiwan and to allow with Beijing's international relations. So this could mean that Honduras truly wants to maintain the United States as their biggest allies. But of course, we're going to see what is going to happen, because what has been taking place in Latin America is that every time a government turns into an authoritarian regime, that is the moment when they decide to align with Beijing. So we need to see if this is going to happen. We're going to see if this is the situation that is going to take place, because many people believe that Honduras will turn into a dictatorship, given the fact that Manuel Zelaya was a pretty authoritarian and radical president. But as I always says here on Newsweek, politics is the realm of unpredictability. Reporting from Medellín, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.